Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday.
Hi.
We're back.
Yeah, it's been a while, but we're back.
Feels like it's been a really long time.
I know it feels like it's been months.
It does. It does. I'm glad we're back and talking about what we were supposed to talk about last week.
I know, and it's a topic that I think is really important to both of us.
It is, and I'm very, very excited to talk about this because I have not been on Phasmo in a while, and I'm very excited to like kind of learn you know, done a lot through our research, but learn like what's been going on with it because I have not had time to sit down and play it in a while.
Oh man, I play it almost every day for at least a couple hours.
I wish I could. I haven't been home long enough to play it. So I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, I only have 984 hours in Fast.
Do you know what's funny is I have like over 1,000 hours in Faz, but I think I'm close to 2,000 now, but I haven't really played that much in the past maybe 6 months or so.
Oh dang, so you used to play a lot
When
then.
it first came out, it was the only game I played, and that's what I streamed primarily when I started streaming, and so I played it all the time. And I did a lot of challenges. I did a lot of streaming with other streamers and things like that. And then kind of this past year or so, I kind of just had to taper off because other things have been going on IRL. I haven't had time to sit down and play, and I miss it. I really want to play it again.
Well, the reason I wanted to talk about it this time is because it just increased its price. So it used to be, I think, 13.99,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's 19.99. So they just increased the price.
Okay. Okay.
So definitely wanted to talk about
Yeah.
it, see like is it actually still worth the price, like the increase and everything.
Yeah, that was my first thought is like, why was the price increased? Like, what did they add to it? What do you get for paying more? That was my very first thought when I saw that the price had gone up on it.
I think they're doing it because Phasmophobia it's about to come out to console.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that with all like the content that they've been pushing out and the fact that it's coming out to console, I think that they were like, okay, our game is worth more money then.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense.
I'm just making a big assumption.
No, but it would make sense. Like, I can understand that. But have they had new updates to the game recently? I haven't even looked since the last time we
in
talked about it.
in the past like few months, the updates that they've done, so they did make changes to the way that photos work, but I think we already talked
Yep,
about
I
that.
remember that.
Um, Aside from that, I'm actually not sure, but I think that before we move any further, we should, if someone doesn't know what phasmophobia is, what is phasmophobia?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so it is, for one, it's a multiplayer game. It's a four-player co-op psychological horror game. It's a ghost hunting game.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, this I love this ghost hunting game because your objective of this game is to go in and find the ghost. So we're not exercising the ghost or anything. It's just go in and observe behaviors, gather evidence and discover what kind of ghost you have, and then you get rewarded if you're correct.
Yeah, and every ghost will have three pieces of evidence. Well, besides the mimic, which technically has four.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's it's a really easy mechanic. You just go in, do all your evidence, figure out which three evidence it is, and then it points to a ghost.
Yes. And there's different difficulty settings as well. So, like, if you're more experienced, you can do a nightmare, or I think there's an insanity one as well. Or if you're not as experienced or you get frightened easily, you can do it on amateur, which is really nice. There's a little bit of something for everybody.
Yeah, and there's different maps. There's
Yes.
like 10 different maps currently, I believe.
Yeah. And the last one was, I believe, the lighthouse. was the most recent one, which is still really difficult for me the few times I played it. Even on easy, it's difficult.
Yeah, I don't really play that map that often just because it is kind of difficult to find, like, figure out where the ghost is, and also just the fact that it's a winding circle over and
Yeah.
over again, like, I don't personally like that, so I don't like the new map.
Well, it's hard, especially when you're, on the eighth floor, and you have to constantly bring stuff up and up and down and up and down the stairs. And then also, if you are a certain number of floors, but like I think it's like 2 floors below the ghost, you can't hear if it's hunting. So it makes it a lot more difficult as well. But yeah, it is a
Exactly.
very challenging map.
It is. For how, like, it's supposed to be, like, I think a small map,
Hmm.
and it's more challenging, like, I'd rather play Sunny Meadows.
Yeah. I love Sunny Meadows, and every time I play with people, they're like anything but the asylum, and I'm like, really? So usually when I play Sunny Meadows, I play it by myself.
I I'm not even gonna say I really like Sunny Meadows that much. It's just like it's a huge asylum. There aren't really like a ton of hiding spots that I'm aware of. Like I know I don't know the map that
Hmm.
well still, so
Well,
maybe
the good thing
it
with
would get
Sunny Meadows
easier.
too is there's also the restricted version. So if you don't want to play the large version of the map, you can play a smaller version of the map as well, which is nice.
I do like that. I do like that they did that restricted because the old asylum, I know why they reworked that. Like if anyone played Phasmophobia back in the day with the old asylum, that was a pain to deal with.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't get lost in the new asylum now, but I got lost all the time in the old asylum, and I've had so many people tell me the exact opposite because they're like, "Oh, I missed the old asylum because it was so easy to navigate," and I was forever getting lost in there.
Me too. Like sometimes doors would open to places that I wasn't expecting it to open to. I was like, oh, what's this hallway?
Yeah, exactly. But I can picture the new asylum in my head a lot easier than I could picture the old one, which is weird, but for me it's just very easy to understand it. Um, but I really like the new Asylum, and again, I usually only play it by myself because not many people want to play the Asylum. A lot of people like the houses, which I get. The houses are they're challenging, but they're a little bit easier to get in and out of, to get equipment in and out
Mhm.
of, to hide and things like that.
Exactly. I will typically play the houses just because they're easy to do. They're in, and yeah, they're like you can run through them pretty fast. Like a if you're unless the ghost is being a jerk, you can get through like a round pretty fast
Yeah, yeah, and it's a great
and
way
get a
to make
perfect
money
game.
quick. Yeah, get perfect games, make money quickly. I do the houses a lot when I'm trying to level up quickly or when I'm trying to earn money. Like I'll go in and do it on a little bit harder of a difficulty and just kind of try to speed run it so that I can just make money quickly, especially the smaller houses. Um, and that way, just in and out, figure it out as quickly as you can, and then you make your money.
Exactly. Yeah, and so that kind of leads me into thinking about like the reasons why Phasmo itself works out really well because we are aware of all of the other ghost hunting games. Like Phasmo came out and then a ton of other ghost hunting games came out that all tried to do something different. So I just wanted to kind of briefly talk about what made Phasmo work so well or
Yeah,
why I thought it worked so well.
absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, the ghost hunting scene just kind of exploded when Phasmo came out, and it just there's been so many different games, and I've played quite a bit of. In fact, I think I've played most of them. I think there's only one on our list that we have here that I don't think I've played. So it's been
Yeah.
interesting to see like just the different takes on it.
Yeah. So I think that what made Phasma work really well is that because you are just figuring the ghost out, like, sure, there are objectives and things you can do, but if you just want to play just the base game, all you're doing is figuring out the ghost type. You're not exercising it, you're not doing any rituals. It's
Hmm.
just figuring the ghost type out. That's it.
Yep. And it does like it's so funny because I'll go back and forth on whether or not I like just figuring out the ghost or sometimes I want to get rid of the ghost as well. But the reason I always come back to Phasmo is it's just because of that it's very simple, it's very easy to use, but it's also very challenging. Like every ghost has its own specific traits. So you could there's so many different ways to play the game. You can do no evidence runs where you're not getting any evidence at all and you're just going based off the ghost behavior, and there's just so many different ways that you can play the game, and yet it's just very simple.
Exactly. And I do like that there are daily and weekly challenges. So those aren't required to like win the
Mhm.
game, but they do add like a replayability that I really like.
Yes, absolutely. And I love doing the challenges and trying to get the challenges done so you can get that little bit of extra money. And just recently I started really like pushing for perfect games because I never got perfect games before. So, before I'd stopped playing a few months ago, that was a big thing I was focusing on, is trying to make sure that I got those perfect games every time because you get a bonus for it. So there's a lot of little different ways. Like even if you get the ghost wrong, you can still earn some money.
Yeah, and I really like that. And I also do like that all the ghosts are really like different. They
Hmm.
they're very different. Like you can do those no evidence runs and figure out the ghost type. Like I'm not sure if the other games are like that. Like you pretty much have to like you have to kind of be like, oh, is it this ghost or this ghost? Like it always comes down to two, and you're not really sure.
Yeah,
But
some of them have
the,
tried to do that. Some of them have been very good at doing that, but I think sometimes it gets like they overthink it. Whereas Faz has it very simple. You have certain things that you're looking for, that you're looking for, and they just do it in a very simple kind of way. They don't overthink it.
yeah, and you could easily like because Phasmophobia also has these items called cursed objects, and you could use them to just start a hunt immediately. So if you want to go through the game as fast as you want, you just go in, use the cursed object, cause a hunt, and then just listen to how fast or slow the ghost is.
That I do that a lot if I can't figure out what the ghost is. If I'm doing, say, a no evidence run and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't know what this behavior is," and and if I know, okay, well, it might be a Rev or it might be a Hansu, then I go use the cursed object to hide in the closet or something, and then just listen to the way that it hunts. And I love that you can do that. You can trigger a hunt and find out what kind of ghost it is just by the hunt, or at least narrow it down.
Yeah, it was so funny. So yesterday when I was playing the game, we wanted to kind of spice things up. So we saw the tarot cards and then just started pulling them immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, one of the cards is the death card, which causes a hunt.
Right.
And so we pulled the card. I had a smudge stick so I could repel the ghost and get to safety. And it turned out to be a revenant.
Oh.
So definitely repelling a revenant, which the revenant is slow unless it sees someone. Then when it sees them, they speed up.
Yep. I tend to get the whenever I try to do stuff like that, I tend to get, I think it, oh God, which one was it? I think it's, is it the Dio, the one that like just you can't hide from it? I think it's the
Yeah, the
Dio.
Dio.
And with the Dio, there's no hiding from it. When it gets closer to you, it does slow down, but you can't hide from it because it will find you wherever you hide. So a lot of times I'll be hiding in the closet and I'll go to use the cursed object, and then all of a sudden I'm dead, and I'm like, oh man, it was a Dio. That
Oh yeah.
stunk. But yeah, it is. You still kind of get your like. That's what still makes it very challenging. So it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna cause a hunt and then immediately know what the ghost is, and then I can just bounce. And it's like no, because that could be a double-edged sword.
Exactly. If Dio is even an option, I just don't hide. I stand out in the open and I'm like, well, here we go.
Yeah, and I do that now. But if I like go in there and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do no evidence run, and like maybe the first thing I want to do is see how it hunts. I've learned that's never a good idea, because if it is a Dio, I'm screwed. And I've had it happen to me several times. Um, but that's the thing, is that you've got to be strategic about how you go about it. It's not something you just run in and go, "Oh, I'm just going to do this and then I'm going to get it and I'm going to leave," and then, because that would make it boring. It's very simple, yet it's very challenging.
Yeah, and there's like, and so with us saying this, it comes out that it's just like there are so many different ways you could play the game. You could be very straightforward, like you're actually ghost hunting, bring in the evidence, find the ghost room, set up the evidence, figure out the ghost and leave. Or you could do stuff like use the cursed object and figure out like you can narrow down the ghost like immediately.
And other things that you can do to make it more fun too, and I've done this on my streams, is like I will make a challenge wheel, right? And okay, well, you can't use flashlights, or you can't use this, or you can only say this, and that in itself is a way for you to make the game more interesting as well, especially if you're a streamer. That tends to go really well on my streams and stuff. Although the last time I did that, I lost a ton of money because I died a lot. But it was good entertainment for everybody. So you take the good with the bad, I guess. But there's ways that you can just continuously challenge yourself, and I've seen people that have been playing it since it first released, who still sometimes have issues figuring out the ghost, or will get it wrong or end up dying, and it's just really cool that they've been playing it for years and still like they get caught up on it sometimes too.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who've been playing for years and they still have those moments. Like you, no matter how good you are at the game, there'll be sometimes where you'll just die. Like you'll just get caught.
Yep. And sometimes it sneaks up on you, and sometimes you think it's one thing and it's not. Or sometimes my biggest thing is the ghost doesn't spawn in the room that it's supposed to, or I expect it to spawn in when it hunts, and it ends up spawning behind me or something. And then I'm like, no. But yeah, it's just little things like that that just catch you off guard.
I've started to do to make sure the ghost doesn't spawn behind me is like if I think it's in like a room in the front of the house and I'm in the living room and I want to smudge it from there, I'll just move a creasy to be in the living room.
Yeah. I also stand
Yeah.
with my back against the wall, so it can't spawn behind me.
That doesn't always work because it can spawn in you.
Well, that's true too. That's true too.
And I've had that happen where I was like, "Oh, really? You just decided to spawn in me and kill me instantly?"
That's true too. I have had that happen to me a couple of times, but more often than not, it spawns behind me. So I'm just like, well, if I stand with my back against the wall, or if I stand in this corner over here, it won't spawn on, but it will spawn on you sometimes. Um,
Yeah, that's why I use the crucifix, which, if you don't know, stops the hunt.
yeah, within a certain radius as well. Like it won't hunt
Yeah.
within a certain radius.
There is something that, so now with the price increase, I thought that what made Phasmophobia so great was that it did have a really low price
Yeah.
point. Like at $13.99, you could easily try it out, even if you weren't sure if you liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And you could buy it for your friends.
Yep.
I mean, I know that maybe I may be more poor than other people, but I can't see myself spending $20 per friend
Yeah,
to buy them a
that's where
game
it's
that
hard
we may not
because
play.
that was one of the big things that was really good about Phasmo, is that everybody could afford it, or if you knew someone that couldn't, you're like, oh, it's less than $15. I can throw that. In fact, I was gifted Phasmo. When I first started playing VR, I was gifted Phasmo. Um, but it's now that it's gone up, I wonder how that's going to affect that, because it's going to be a lot harder for people to gift it to people now that it is $20 as opposed to 14.
Exactly. And I think about that a lot because I'm not going to say that I don't think it's worth $20 because with all the content and like we've been playing for so long that it's like
Mm-hmm.
easy to us, but when I have new players come in and play with me, they are overwhelmed.
Yes.
But yeah, by everything. So I think that there is a lot of content in the game. It's just we're kind of accustomed to it already.
Right. And that's where it's like really hard too. It's hard for a game like this when it makes changes, because when it made changes to the leveling as well, they do the level resets and everything now, and that was a huge change. And that, I was like level 2000 and something, and now I'm like level, I don't think I've even made it to 100 yet. I think I'm like 98 or something. Um and then it resets after that. And so when they make these big changes, I feel like it's really hard for people who've been playing for a long time to kind of get used to that. And it is definitely worth the $20. I absolutely agree with that, but it's hard when, it used to be a lot cheaper.
Exactly. Also, hi, Rowdy.
Hello, Rowdy. Happy Saturday. Um, but yeah, I do definitely think it is still worth the $20. It's just it's hard when it has gone up.
Exactly. And as someone that already has the game, like it doesn't affect me really
Hmm.
because I already have it. But when I try to think about recommending it, um, I do see it that it's putting itself above the other ghost hunting games because I did notate like what other games came out and when they came out just in case we wanted to talk about it. And a lot of them are around the same price point that
Hmm.
Faz used to be. It was like they're like $10 to $15 roughly.
Right.
So I think this does set itself away from the rest of the pack.
Right. Right, because now it's now they have is it going to affect people buying the game now because they're like, well, Phasmophobia is $20, but Demonologist might be $10 to $15 or something like that, and they'll lean more towards getting the cheaper one. But again, it's also it's a touch such a because it didn't go up that much. It only went up like $6, but still like it's $20 now. So it's that's really really hard, and I wonder I wonder what their thought process was behind like the discussion of whether or not they should raise the price.
Yeah, exactly. So if you were to not play Phasmophobia, which other ghost hunting game would you be playing?
Um, so I really enjoyed Ghost Exile for a long time. I haven't played it in a long time, but really enjoyed it. It was very similar to Phas, except you did have to get rid of the ghosts. Um, and Death Watchers I've been really enjoying, which is a new one as well, which is another one where you do have to get rid of the ghost. A lot of them you have to do the rituals, and that can put people off to it because if you don't have the right ghost or you don't have the right items, everything you just did, it just gone. Like it was just a waste because you end up dying anyway. So it does make it a lot more challenging. But those two are the ones that and Demonologist was a good one as well. I mean, so I'll say those three are my top three aside from Faz.
Yeah, I did like Ghost Exile a lot because yeah, the whole process for the exorcism, it did fill that need that
Mm-hmm.
when you're playing fast for a while, you're like, I do wish I could exercise the ghost as well.
Yep. Get rid of the
Like
ghost.
it yeah, it feels kind of like unsatisfying almost when you just end the game and you're like, okay, well, I found out this ghost was a djinn, but bye,
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave the gin and all of our equipment in the house. We're just gonna bounce. We did our
Yeah.
job. We identified. It's all on you now. I do feel like that takes a little bit of the takes away a little bit from the immersion from it, where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, we've got in, we've identified that this place is haunted, there is a ghost, this is the kind of ghost, but we're just gonna leave all our shit here and we're just gonna say, yep, this is what you got, we're on our way.
Yeah, exactly. The only reason that I think that Ghost Exile could have been bigger, but the exorcism is tedious.
It is. I do like saying the rituals though. I thought that was really cool because you actually had to physically say the rituals into your microphone, which was neat. Ghost Exile started
Yes.
out very good, but one of their updates ruined it for me. Which update? I haven't played it literally in almost a year. So
I
maybe
think we looked and it'd been like a year or two
yeah, I
since we
think
both played it.
it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I played it.
Yeah, the thing that I didn't like about Ghost Exile, like I thought it was actually a pretty cool game. Like I would say if you want to be able to exercise the ghosts, then play it. The only thing that sucked was that when you're doing the ritual, like there are these portals that open and you have to go close them.
Oh yeah, that made it difficult.
Yeah, and it made a whole like level of difficulty that I feel like maybe they if they reworked the exorcism a little bit, then it would be a great game.
Yeah, I think like we were saying with Phas is has its difficulties, but it's very simplistic. It's a very simple game. It's easy to learn. It's easy to get the hang of, but you can always challenge yourself with it. And I think that's where a lot of these ghost hunting games are struggling to keep up with Faz because they're overthinking it. They're like, well, let's do this, but let's add this too. And then you're running like with the portals. You're running around like crazy person trying to find the portals. And then you got to get back to like trying to figure out where the ghost is and trying not to die and trying to get evidence and trying to, and it's a lot. It's a lot all at once.
Exactly. And the great thing about Phasmophobia is even though it is a multiplayer game, you can play by yourself. You're not limited. Like the game doesn't prevent you from playing it. With Ghost Exile, it's really hard to perform that exorcism when you're by yourself.
Yep. Yep, it is. And
So, yeah.
that is a huge challenge because there are some times where I want to play Faz and I just want to play it by myself. And it's not because I don't want to play with anybody. Maybe I'm trying to like get back all the money I lost or whatever. Maybe I just want to do a couple quick rounds or whatever, and I have that option where I don't have to play with other people. And when you start having where you have to play with others, that's where I kind of get put off because sometimes I just don't want to. Sometimes I just want to play by myself.
Exactly. Even though like it is a co-op game, so of course you'd want to play with other people, but sometimes like especially when you're just starting out, maybe you want to get to know the game better and instead of having all like four people confused, maybe you'll get in by yourself for a little bit and check out the game so you can tell the others like kind of scouting it out.
Sometimes if I haven't played in a while too, I want to play by myself because sometimes I need to just refresh my memory. And a lot of times I notice when I play with other people, especially people who have been continuously playing where I haven't, um, I feel like I don't really get a chance to really think things out because everybody's kind of like, oh, I've got this and I've got that, and oh, we've got this and this and this, and then I haven't even come off the van yet. And I'm like, okay. And it sometimes when I haven't played for a while and I need to get back in the swing of things, it's nice to be able to like play by myself and kind of refresh my memory of how do I do this again.
Exactly. That is a good point. And I also do feel like another game, Obsidio,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to play a game that still is fairly simple but also has an exorcism concept, then that's definitely a game to pick up. It is pretty cheap right now. Let me see. Because I think
Obsidio is
it's
a
only
good
like,
one.
yeah, Obsidio's great. And it is only $11.99. So if you do want to play a game that has exorcisms and has like a normal just finding evidence in a room, figuring out the ghost type, I feel like that game is great. The
Mm-hmm.
only things that make it kind of difficult is that there you don't figure out the ghost purely based on the evidence. You also figure it out based on its behavior. So
Right.
is it throwing stuff? Is it throwing knives? Is it moving things? Um, that does kind of make it hard because sometimes if you see like a toy dinosaur, like you're like, did it throw the toy dinosaur or did it move it? Because that changes the ghost type.
Yeah, and that's too where Death Watchers gets a little difficult too because when you're looking for things that like has this item moved or was this here before or I don't remember seeing this, and then you start getting a lot of that self-doubt as well. Um and then I start questioning everything, and then I tend to get frustrated because I'm like, I don't remember if I saw this here, or I don't remember if that was there, or where did I see that, because but Obsidio is a really good one. It's very similar to Faz, except you do have the exorcisms. But I do and again going back to the like the behaviors of the ghosts, I really like the fact in Faz that you could say, okay, well, there's a ghost that's throwing stuff, but it could be any number of ghosts because my first thought immediately is it's a Pulte, but it may not be a Pulte. I've had all kinds of different ghosts and Phasmo throw stuff at me, so it's not just an instant, oh, it threw something, it's a Pulte, job done. You still have to kind of go through the whole process.
Exactly. So it does like because the ghosts in Phasmophobia do have behaviors and they have certain abilities that they do, which can help you narrow it down. But it's not a requirement to figure out the ghost. You can
Right.
get the evidence and never see the actual ability being used.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or
I do like that.
and then it works the other way too, whereas if you're having a hard time getting evidence, you can then use the behaviors to kind of narrow it down. Because I've had that too, where I've had a ghost that just wasn't like giving me that third piece of evidence, and it was stuck between like two or three different types of ghosts. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, and so then it's like, all right, what is the ghost doing? Let's try to figure out through the behavior. Let's try to figure out through the hunting. So you have different ways that you can figure out the ghost, but you don't have to. It's not a requirement.
Exactly. So yeah, if you want to make it harder on yourself, you can go purely based on the behaviors and go for a no evidence run.
Right.
And I do like that you could even challenge yourself by creating a custom difficulty where you can make the ghost faster. So it'll just make it really hard to figure out because instead of going based on the ghost speed, you can't really do that anymore because you've changed the ghost speed.
Exactly. And I'd forgotten about that too, the custom settings. So you mean you have your typical, amateur, professional, and nightmare and insanity, but then you can also go into your own custom settings and say, okay, I want the ghost to be faster and I want it to like give me less evidence or no evidence or whatever. And you can set your own difficulty so that you can set it to your own level. And if you get bored with the game, you can be like, well, let's challenge myself a little bit more. And that, again, it's the simplicity in it. You can make it more difficult, but it's still very simple.
Exactly. And there's one other thing that I want to bring up because most of these they are 1 to 4 players,
Hmm.
except for Ghost Exorcism Incorporated, it is up to 6.
Oh, I have not played that one in probably 2 years. It's been a really long time since I played that one. I didn't play it much when it first came out. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I think I had a really hard time understanding it.
It had some stuff going on in the game that I didn't quite understand. The UI, like, 'cause that's what makes Phasmo work is the UI, everything is very simple. Like you can pick it up pretty fast, but in Ghost Exorcism, the UI is very complicated. Like for a first time player,
Hmm.
there's so many things that you have to keep track of and look at. It's just it can be a bit difficult, but I do like that if you do want to play with multiple people, then you could play with up to 6, and it's only $11.99 as well. So if you
Yeah,
want a multiplayer game that you can buy for all your friends,
yeah.
then yeah, play that game. Personally, I don't like it as much as the other games, but it's something to keep in mind if you're looking for a multiplayer game like that.
For me, I have a hard time with games that don't do their tutorials well. Like Faz has a specific tutorial, like you can go through their training mode and everything, and a lot of these ghost hunting games just have like tables laid out and it tells you what the equipment does, or you like kind of walk through. And for me, like it's hard for me to remember all of that stuff. But if I'm doing an actual tutorial where I'm walking through the house and doing things step by step, it's easier for me to remember it and I'm not kind of all over the place. Welcome, Waka. Um but yeah, it's the how hard it is when I first try to learn to play something. It will greatly impact whether or not I continue to play it.
Exactly. Yeah, that is something I even though like I feel like the tutorial didn't really set me up for playing Phasmophobia that well. Like I did get to like, use the evidence and it was pretty interesting. And I do like that the ghost doesn't hunt
Yeah.
in the tutorial.
And you get a chance to see how the equipment works. For me, that's a big thing. If I go into a ghost hunting game and I have no idea how the equipment works or what I'm supposed to do with it, it's very stressful because I'm like, I'm gonna die because I have no idea what I'm doing. And at least if you have a little training mode, you can actually use the equipment, see how it works, get an idea to feel for the evidence and all of that kind of stuff. And it just makes it a little bit easier when you go in and you kind of have an idea of what you're supposed to do instead of just going in blind.
Yes, I do like that. I feel like the other games they kind of throw you in.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially a game that I kind of like and it does change things drastically is Forewarned,
Mm-hmm.
because instead of ghost hunting, you're hunting for like an entity. I think they call it a magi,
Mm-hmm.
and you have evidence, but it's different evidences instead of just like the normal types of evidence.
Yeah.
You have like different ones. You're also like going into like pyramids and other like tombs and stuff.
Yeah, I loved Forewarned. Well, okay, so I really liked Forewarned. I like the idea of it. I like the fact that you were going into tombs instead of houses, and it was just a really unique idea. I have never been able to have a successful game in Forewarned ever. And I don't know if I just don't understand the game right. I get lost very easily. So a lot of times when I think there's like a spot where you have to go put in like your evidence or whatever, and then you have to
Mhm.
like try to escape or something. I haven't played it in so long. I would get so lost that I'd end up dying. And it was just like, well, this isn't fun for me because I can't figure out how to get out of here. So I ended up not playing it anymore. But I love the idea of it.
Yeah, I thought it was fun because yeah, there's different levels to the game that I kind of liked. Like there is just the standard find out what the Magi is. You go to its inner tomb like door, you put in what like entity you think it is, and if you get it right, it opens the door and you can take a picture of the inner tomb,
Hmm.
and that's technically winning. But you can actually do it like an exorcism of sorts, but that is so complicated. I got it once and I was so confused about what I was doing that like cuz they don't really explain it very well,
Yeah.
and I just like what am I doing? Like how do I know I'm doing this right? Everything is happening all at once. It was very confusing.
I remember something about having to push buttons and try to get out or something like that. I don't remember exactly how that worked, but I remember looking for buttons on the wall and not being able to find them. And I was so frustrated because I was like, why can't I find these buttons? And why can't I find my way out of the tomb? And like, I can't get back up to the car because I'm so lost. I keep going in circles and I ended up getting frustrated. And that's what really made it difficult for me.
Yeah, once you figure out the Magi or whatever, it closes the main door and you have to find these blue
That's what it
levers.
was. That's what it was, the levers. I knew there was
Yeah, and
something I was
so
looking for.
yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 levers and then you have to find them, hit them, and then the main door opens again and you could escape.
Hmm.
I didn't really like that. Like I like Phas where it just has like a hunting phase where
Hmm.
it closes the door and then the doors open again.
You wait it
But
out and yeah.
yeah, but having to find levers to open the door while it's like basically while it's in like a constant hunting phase just wasn't fun to
And
me.
you're in a dark tomb too. And there's lots of tunnels and hallways and everything, and so it is very confusing. And that's where I cuz I had played it for a little while when it came out, and then I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me because I just got too frustrated with it. But that's again, like I keep saying, where Faz keeps it simple. You know what to expect, and you still will get surprised. You can have the hunting. No, a ghost is hunting. You have a few seconds, like you get like a few seconds of a warning before the ghost actually like it's the door closes, and you have a few seconds before the ghost actually starts moving towards you to try and figure out. I can't tell how many times I've run into the ghost expecting the ghost to spawn in one room, and I go to run to hide and it's in front of me and I run right into it, and I'm like, okay. But it's simple yet challenging, and just very easy to learn, very easy to pick up. It's not overly difficult, but it is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that it's easy to pick up in its main gameplay. You really just have the 3 evidences that you have to figure out. The ghost has a hunting phase at certain sanity percentages, and they make it pretty easy. Like most ghosts will hunt at 50.
Hmm.
So then like for the most part, you can like once you get around 50, the ghost can start doing these hunts.
Right, and then you also know there's certain ghosts that will hunt above that as well. So if you, like, I just walked in a house and I got hunted, okay, well, there's a good chance this could be a demon. You like, you could start narrowing it down almost as soon as you walk in the door, depending on what the ghost does when you walk in the door.
That does make things very difficult though, because that is not something the game explicitly tells you.
Right.
Yeah, there's no like nothing in the book that says, oh, this ghost hunts at this sanity percentage. It also has the chance to hunt whenever. It just kind of like
Yeah. And I
talks about
remember
it very vaguely.
I remember doing research on that, and that was something I used to have when I played Phas a lot for my streams. I used to have sheets up on my wall above my monitors that would tell me like what percentages certain ghosts will hunt at, and like certain things that ghosts do, like because there was so much it was hard to remember, and it isn't all in the game. And so I'd watch um creators like Insum and Psycho, and they would do like these run throughs on like how to do this and how to know what kind of ghost this was and how to do that. And I'd like write all these notes down and hang them all up on my wall. So I would have them there when I was playing. So I was like, oh, it hunted at 80. It could be a demon, because it isn't in the game.
Yeah, so that is something that does make Faz kind of difficult is that it doesn't straight up tell you that. Normally, you either figure it out after getting hunted several times by the same ghost. You're like, okay, so that must have been a demon. Like you just kind of figure it out, or you play with people who have already played before
Yeah.
and they tell you, oh, it's a demon. It hunts at this range, which I've said that before to a lot of people and they're like, "How do you know?" I'm like, I have almost 1,000 hours in this game.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
believe me."
Yet I did learn a lot of those from Rowdy too. He did. He actually I learned a lot of where the cursed objects were from Rowdy. Because Rowdy would research those and he would tell me like certain maps, certain the mirror would appear in certain places or the cards will appear in certain places. And that's where I learned like the spots to check for the cursed objects because sometimes I wouldn't be able to find them. Um and so yeah, I did learn a lot of that from Rowdy, but I did spend a lot of time watching YouTubers and stuff, like how to do no evidence runs, how to do this, how to do that. And it's funny because I play with people, and when I tell them how many hours that I have into the game, they're surprised because I die constantly and I never have any money, and they're like, how do you have so many hours in the game? And I'm like, yeah, I take a lot of stupid risks, and I sometimes I'll go long periods of times without playing, and then it takes me a while to kind of get back into the swing of things.
Oh no, I'm a very cautious Phasmophobia player.
I'm
I
not.
Waka can tell you, I kind of like once it gets to a certain range where it could hunt, I start to get a little bit antsy.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been brave recently. I now come in when I instead of getting antsy, I bring in a smudge
Yeah.
because I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting better at smudging the ghost, so I'm feeling much more brave.
Yeah, I find the smudges help me to be a lot more brave too. Especially the newer smudges, they're a lot nicer to use. And I tend to do the like, oh, we only need one more picture. Let me go in and get this one more picture, even though we have no sanity left and we have no sanity pills left. I'll just sneak in real quick and get this picture, and then I died, and I wonder why I died. It's just because it gnaws at me if I'm like, I didn't get this last thing. Like, need to get
Oh yeah, if there's
it.
only one picture left, like, cause you get a perfect game if you fill the
Uh-huh.
book with all the pictures.
It's so
So,
hard for me to be like, oh, we'll just, screw that last picture. And it's like, but, or like, I'll be like, oh, I can go smudge the ghost, and the ghost spawns like on top of me, or I run into the ghost and I don't have time to smudge it. And I'm like, why did I do that? Like, I just take stupid risks, and I don't know, that's part of the fun of it for me. So, but it's weird. I do get a lot of people that say to me, I can't believe you have like 2,000 hours into the game when you die all the time. Yeah.
yeah, you do take a lot of risks that I'm surprised about sometimes. I'm like, "Wait, why are you doing this?" Like, I would be in there with a crucifix, a smudge, making sure there's sanity. Like,
I
I'm
always
very
think I have
cautious.
more time than I do. You saw Mir smudge a rev? That's impressive.
I did smudge a rev. I also did try to smudge a gin once, and you know how they speed up when they see you,
Yeah.
like until they get close. I started running to it as I was smudging it. I didn't realize it was a gin, so it sped up much faster than I thought it was going to, and I just died.
That is something I would do. That is something I would do. Or One of the things that I first started do when I first started playing the game, and I still do it from time to time by accident, is when I go to smudge the ghost, and I'm like, I got this. I go running towards the ghost, and I go to smudge, but instead of smudging, I throw it or I switch my item by accident, and then I'm like, yep, nope, I'm dead. And it's because I hit the wrong button. I hit the wrong button, and I do the wrong thing, and I die.
Oh yeah, because they when they made that change, it used to be like you had to hit, was it F to
Yeah.
be able to use a smudge stick, and now it's like right click, I think.
Yep.
When they made that change, I was like, well, I'm never going to smudge again because I'm not going to get used to that.
Yep.
But I could see why they made that change because it is so much easier to smudge now.
Sometimes I'll accidentally hit my scroll wheel on my mouse and that switches me to another object. And so like I'll go to smudge and I'll hit my scroll wheel by accident and it'll switch my object instead of smudging and I'm like, well shit. So I
Dang.
mean I'm screwed no matter what I do. I'm notorious for hitting the wrong buttons on any game I play. So it's the curse I have. But I still just find it hilarious. I'm also not the kind of person that's going to get overly upset if I don't have a ton of money in the game or if I'm dying constantly because for me it's mostly about just having the fun. I don't care about being good at the game. I just want to have fun playing it. So and I also think it makes it more fun when I do like hey, I did smudge this ghost or hey, I did get this. Like it's more exciting because, I make it more challenging on myself.
Exactly. And I do think that especially with playing multiplayer, there can be like a brave person, but there also can be someone that just stays in the truck that has all the evidences and stuff
Yeah.
and you could just watch from there. Like that's how I got so good at figuring out ghost behaviors and things like that because I would just sit back and I would listen and I would watch for stuff. And so at some point I would be like, "Oh, the ghost is doing this, so it must be this," even though like I barely went in the house.
Yeah. And that's the thing too is everybody can have their own roles. Like I played with people who are literally terrified to go in the house and it's like okay, you stay in the van and you watch the cameras. Now, I've had a lot of people complain when people do that. I don't care. If that's what makes the game fun for you, fine, do it. I don't care. I want you to have fun. I don't want you to be so terrified that you don't want to play the game. So, it's more of a do what you are comfortable with doing. And if, there's one person in the group that's more brave, let them go in and do that stuff until you're comfortable enough to start working your way into the house. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Yeah, people that think that you have to be always in the house, like once you get really good at the game, you don't really need everybody in the house anyway.
Yep. Yep.
Like unless you're doing something really chaotic, but even then like 2, 3 people max. Like sometimes we'll go in and we'll have 3 people, and I'm like, this is too many people.
Yeah.
I,
I have a hard time sometimes playing with a lot of people because like I said before, like a lot of times people have already found out a lot of stuff before I've even had a chance to get in the house. And then oftentimes I feel like I have to run in and try to rush because I walk in the door and people are like, oh, I found the bone. I found the cursed object. Oh, we've got this, we've got that. And I'm like, I feel like I haven't done anything. So then I start to get anxious because I'm like, I need to contribute. I need to do something. And I've had also a lot of people, I've played with people where when you walk into the house within seconds, they can already tell what kind of ghost it is. And that takes a lot of fun out of it for me because then you're not going through the process and it takes more fun out of it when they're right because then they're like, see, told you. And it's like, yeah, but
mhm.
you just took the whole fun out of the whole process of the game. So that's another reason sometimes I prefer to play by myself because sometimes I can get very overwhelmed playing with other people, especially people who have played more often than I have.
Yeah, yeah, there is like a certain kind of line that you have to toe because if especially when you're playing with new people, like you don't want to overwhelm them and you also don't want to like force them to play like a certain play style. Like I'm braver now, so I'll play kind of a little bit chaotically.
Hmm.
But when I first started, I was like, no, let's do this methodically. We go in, everyone has a piece of evidence,
Yep.
we communicate everything. And when the ghost starts getting crazy, we take sanity pills, like, keep
Yeah.
us from being in a hunting range.
Yeah, so when you first start learning, you are very methodical because you're very on high alert, and you're whereas when you have been playing it for a long time, you kind of know what to expect, so you're kind of a little bit more casual about it, and you're just kind of like, yeah, let's just go in and do this, that, and the other thing. And like I have specific things that I do when I go into a house. I have specific equipment I bring. I always look for the first things I look for are the bone and the cursed object as I'm trying to find the ghost room and things like I have a certain way of doing things. And sometimes when I play with other people, um, and they start doing the things that I typically do, then I get lost and I'm like, I don't know what to do now. But these
Oh
are
yeah.
just it's is nothing not reflecting on the game in any way. It's just this is one of the big reasons why it's nice that you can play by yourself or with others. Like Rowdy says he needs a meat shield because he usually only plays alone. I'm typically his meat shield, which just message me, Rowdy. I'll play with you anytime. But um it's Rowdy and I kind of we've been playing together for so long that we kind of like know how each other plays, and like if he goes upstairs, I stay downstairs. Things like that, and we kind of have like a system. But when you're playing with four people, especially if you're playing with people you don't normally play with, it can be very overwhelming if you are used to doing things a certain way.
Oh yeah, I definitely have like a play style that when I've played with the same people, yeah, we all get the same pieces of evidence. We all are doing the same things like that we've always done. So it's not really varying.
Yeah. Well, so you have your own roles and you know what to expect, and like you all know like how each other plays, so you kind of learn to work together and it just comes natural. But when you play with I used to play with this group once a week. I used to play with them in VR, and it was this guy and his daughter and one of their friends. And I loved playing with them, and it was so funny because it was when I first started playing Faz because I started playing it in VR, and they were very methodical about everything they did, and they would teach me how to play along the way, and stuff like that. But it was just I always felt like very alert and on edge and like I need to do this. And then we stopped playing together for a while. I started playing on PC a lot and I got really good at the game. And one day they asked me, it was the main guy's birthday, and they said, "Oh, do you want to come join us for some Faz for his birthday?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do this. We haven't played in a long time." And I get in there and they're still trying to explain things to me like I'm new, and then I tell them how many hours I have in the game and they're like, "Oh, you've got more hours than we do." So it's kind of like it's weird like trying to adapt to kind of like everybody's play style.
Oh yeah, and definitely people like there'll be people with only like less than 100 hours, but they were just the bravest. And so
Hmm.
they're doing things all chaotically. They're like using the cursed object immediately. And I'm like, whoa, you got to tell me. They're like, no, I want to kill you. I'm like, oh my God. That's
Yeah,
what's
like
happened to me
why?
when I try.
Why? Yeah, I'm almost always the one. I think that's why I make the stupid sacrifices, because I know that more than likely I'm gonna do something stupid to get myself killed anyway. So it's like and then I tend to like, well, if the ghost is gonna kill me, then I'm gonna go take, all of the cock out of the house or something like that. It's what I do. It's just my little thing. If I'm playing with other people, it gives me something to do because as a ghost, there's nothing you can really do. So I'll try to find other ways or I'll try to find other ways I can help out. Like if the ghost is hunting, where it's hunting from, and what it, is it blinking fast? Is it blinking slowly? And just trying to find any way I can help once I'm dead from beyond the grave.
Yeah. And so the last thing I think, so we talked about how great, like, Phasmophobia really is great. And I think it works really well. But what do you think it needs in the game for you? As someone who's been playing for long enough, like what would you like to see happen in the game?
I think for me, I would like to see the game be a little bit more customizable, where you can customize your character or you can customize the lobby that you have, things that you can earn, because now that they have reset um, the levels, when you get to level 100, you prestige, but then you start all over again. You lose all your money, you lose all the equipment and everything. So to be able to earn stuff, to be able to earn whether it's clothing or to be able to change the way you look or change the way your lobby looks, I think would kind of add a lot more incentive to it and make it a little more personal.
I agree. I think that at least yeah, character customization, something to spend your money on because right now, yeah, leveling up to 100 and like I will roughly have like 100 to $150,000 in my account roughly like
Mm-hmm.
when I get to level 100, and then when I prestige all that money
It's
goes
gone.
away and
It's
I'm like,
wasted. Yep.
what was the reason? So I think that that makes the game really not satisfying to
Yeah.
me at the moment because I mean, I can play as often as I want, but the game isn't really me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
at least character customization, like changing, even being able to change my shirt color
Yes.
would be nice.
Yeah. To make so because a lot of times I have certain friends that will play the same character. And so if I play, like for example, Rowdy always plays as the same character model, and I always play as the same character model. But if we're playing with somebody else who happens to be the same character model, I get very confused because I can't tell them apart. And I think that's a huge thing too, because there aren't a lot of character models that you can choose between. So when you do have four people, if two people are the same character model, it's very hard to tell them apart. There's nothing unique about them. And the other thing
Yeah.
is with the prestiging as well, like it is like I've seen so many people go, I've made it to level 100, but I don't know if I really want to prestige because I'm going to lose all my money and I'm going to lose all the equipment I just worked so hard for. And yes, I'll get a little prestige thing on my badge, but I've just lost everything and now I'm starting back with basic equipment again, and it's kind of it is a bit disappointing.
Exactly. Like I do like prestiging, getting the new badge, but like when I've been playing with people, so it's not as bad. So we can stagger who prestiges so that I can prestige and then someone can maybe wait a little bit to prestige. But yeah, if I could just use the money, yeah, to change my hair color, change my outfit, because right now I play as a model that no one else played
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want there to be a chance of another person picking my model.
Right.
But if they just got new models or added character customization, that would alleviate that.
Or even like models you can unlock when you get to certain levels or something like that. But I think too the big thing with spending your money, like you're working so hard for this money, when you buy all the equipment that you need to buy and you have all this money, you're literally just throwing it away. And that makes it really really difficult. I also think, speaking of models, like new ghost models would be good because we kind of have the same ones over and over again, and to have something a little bit, I don't know, like a new type. I don't know if necessarily new type of ghost, but maybe a different kind of model because, you kind of get tired of seeing the same ones over and over again.
Yeah, it definitely. I agree with that so much because I sometimes I'll get like the child or I'll get granny over and over again. And I'm like, man, I wish there was like just someone else.
Yep.
I just want to see a different ghost model.
Exactly. And Waka says decorations or even unlocking new ghost hunting headquarters or truck designs. That would be really neat too. That would be really neat. I was thinking the same thing, like being able to buy stuff for your lobby that, you could use to decorate your area with, or like those games that they have upstairs, maybe unlock different games, just something that you can like spend your money on.
Yeah, because I do really like the lobby. Like I think it's really nice, the updated one.
Mhm.
I like that you could see all the cursed objects that you unlocked, and you do have those games. It's definitely better than the old lobby,
Yeah.
but it's still just not very personal.
Yeah, it's the same for everybody. So it would be nice to like decorate it yourself.
I also would like to see like a maybe like a medium-sized house map because most of the houses are small maps. I'd like to
Mhm.
see like a medium house map, like an apartment or
Yeah.
something like that. Um, or an outdoor map that isn't camping.
Yeah. So I was very excited for an outdoor map because I thought this is going to be really neat, but I very rarely play the campsite. I don't like it. And it's very hard to get evidence, and it's very hard to hide, and I don't like it, so I don't play it very often. But I think a different outdoor map aside from camping would be wonderful. An
Yeah,
outdoor
like,
carnival. I like that.
and now a carnival would be cool. A
That would
haunted
be
motel
awesome.
would be cool. Yeah, I think a fairground, like the ghost being able to like interact with a carousel or something,
Yep.
like in a fairground, would be so creepy.
Where I think they had issue, where I have a lot of issues with the campsite too, is it's hard to get evidence. How do you get fingerprints? How do you get, because it is very difficult to get evidence. So they I think when they do an outdoor map, they need to like be mindful of that. Like, okay, it's harder to get evidence. You're not going to get fingerprints on a tree, so we need to make sure there are places where you can get fingerprints and they're not just very sparse.
An office building, even an office building would be kind of interesting, even though you
That would
don't
be
really
cool.
hear about ghosts doing that.
That would be a lot of fun, like, hiding under a desk in an office building or something. I think that would be awesome. But yeah, they definitely, I mean, I know they just came out with a new map, but I always get very excited when they come out with new maps and it's something new and exciting, and it's another challenge.
Yeah, I would just personally like a house that isn't a small one, like maybe like a huge mansion or at least like just a bigger house that would be considered a medium map
Yeah,
because like I rarely play the medium maps because they're just not as interesting. Like prison and high school is kind of old. Like they're
they are.
old maps.
Yeah.
Like they need to be updated or we just need another medium map.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love playing the prison. I don't play it very often. And again, it's one of those maps that when I play with other people, most people don't want to play. I like the asylum. I like the prison. High school, I don't mind from time to time, but sometimes I get frustrated with it. But they are old maps. They were maps that were there from the beginning, so they kind of need a refresher. We need something newer, a newer medium map to play.
Exactly. So we're actually on time. So my question for you is would you recommend this game knowing that its price point is now 19.99?
Absolutely. I think it's still it's not as good of a price that as it was. I think it is still um definitely worth it. I think I've been playing it for a very long time and still like find it very challenging. So I think that it's definitely worth the investment. I would absolutely still recommend it.
Same. I definitely recommend it if someone's looking for a co-op game that is easy enough to get into. It's like easy to get into, hard to master is what I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. And there's always ways to challenge yourself, so it never gets boring.
Exactly. Well, hopefully they have an update soon because I need more content.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is they're very good at doing updates, and they don't make them to where it's sometimes I'm like their updates are really far apart, but in a way I think that's kind of a good thing. It gives them time to work on other updates. They're not just rushing them out and just, doing them, very sloppy. They're very methodical about their updates and what they're gonna do. Um but it also like keeps you hanging on. Like I want to see what the next map is they're gonna do. I want to see if they're gonna add new ghosts or new equipment or stuff. So they're really good about their updates.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, we did it.
Yeah, finally got that Phasmo talk. I'm sorry about last week, guys. I had a lot going on and I overslept. That was my fault. But I'm glad we got this one done today, and I've been really looking forward to this discussion.
Same. I'm happy that we got to talk about it.
Me too. And thank you, Rowdy and Waka, for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Appreciate you.
And we will see you guys next week.
All right, bye.
Bye.